July 2025. The world of talent shows has just been shaken. Headlines are flooding in, and fans are in disbelief. Something happened. Something no one expected. Simon Cowell, the face of talent discovery for over 2 decades, has just said his final goodbye. But it's not about ratings. It's not about contracts. It's something far deeper. A few days ago, Richard Goodall, one of the most beloved voices to ever walk onto the AGT stage, shared heartbreaking news. What followed was an emotional response from Simon Cowell that left fans around the world speechless, and maybe even in tears. What exactly did Richard reveal, and why did it push Simon to walk away now? After everything, let's break it down. For years, Simon Cowell has been known as the sharp-tongued, larger-than-life judge who discovered some of the world's biggest talents. From American Idol to Britain's Got Talent, his influence on the entertainment industry is undeniable. But behind the scenes, Simon has always been more than just a television icon. He's been a mentor, a businessman, and in rare moments, a surprisingly compassionate supporter of underdogs. That's what made his latest announcement all the more shocking. Fans around the globe were left stunned when Simon hinted that he was preparing to step away from the spotlight, and the reason behind it has left everyone heartbroken. The moment came during what should have been an ordinary press conference. Simon, looking noticeably more subdued than usual, addressed a room full of journalists and cameras. "There comes a time," he began, his voice cracking slightly, "when you realize life isn't just about the next big talent or the next big show." Those words alone were enough to send shockwaves through the industry. But as Simon continued, it became clear this wasn't just about burnout or a career shift. It was about something far more personal, something connected to a name that fans of America's Got Talent would immediately recognize: Richard Goodall. For those unfamiliar, Richard Goodall captured hearts worldwide with his incredible voice and humble story when he auditioned for America's Got Talent. A quiet janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, his raw, powerful singing left the judges speechless and the audience in tears. Simon, often seen as the most critical judge, was visibly moved by Richard's performance. But no one could have predicted that their bond would extend far beyond the show. Behind the cameras, Richard and Simon formed a unique friendship, one built on mutual respect and shared life values. Now, with Richard facing a devastating health diagnosis, Simon's decision to step back from his career suddenly makes sense. But what exactly happened to Richard? And why has it prompted Simon Cowell, a man not known for showing vulnerability, to consider saying goodbye to the world of entertainment? The truth behind this story is far more emotional and far stranger than anyone expected. When Richard Goodall first walked onto the stage of America's Got Talent, few people could have predicted the impact he was about to have, not just on the audience, but on Simon Cowell himself. Dressed in his janitor's uniform, Richard looked like the furthest thing from a pop star or celebrity. But the moment he opened his mouth to sing, the entire room fell silent. His rendition of "Don't Stop Believin'" wasn't just technically flawless. It was raw, emotional, and deeply authentic. In an industry often criticized for overproduced performances and artificial fame, Richard's unpolished, honest talent stood out like a beacon. Simon, known for his often brutal critiques, didn't hesitate to press his buzzer, but not to stop the performance. Instead, he awarded Richard the coveted golden buzzer, sending him straight through to the live shows. It was a rare moment where Simon's icy exterior cracked, revealing genuine admiration for an everyday man with extraordinary talent. Viewers around the world were captivated. Here was a middle-aged janitor, used to working in schools and cleaning up hallways, suddenly finding himself in the spotlight, praised by one of the most influential figures in music and television. But what fans didn't know was that this was only the beginning of their unlikely connection. Behind the scenes, Simon and Richard's relationship quietly deepened. Simon has always been known for mentoring rising stars, but with Richard, it was different. There was no ego, no industry polish, just a humble man with a dream and a mentor willing to help him chase it. Industry insiders revealed that Simon went out of his way to support Richard beyond the confines of the show. Studio sessions were arranged, voice coaches were offered, and opportunities quietly opened up. But with every success came an unexpected shadow, one that would soon take center stage in both their lives. It was during this time that Richard received news that would change everything, not only for him, but for Simon Cowell as well. The tragic diagnosis that followed would explain Simon's surprising goodbye and reveal a side of him few have ever seen before. For a man like Richard Goodall, life had never been about fame or fortune. Before America's Got Talent, his days were spent quietly working as a school janitor, keeping classrooms clean and hallways safe. He never imagined the world would hear his voice, let alone see him become a viral sensation. But even as the spotlight found him, Richard remained grounded, focused on family, community, and gratitude. Sadly, while his musical dreams were finally coming true, fate was preparing a cruel twist, one that would bring his entire world, and Simon Cowell, crashing down. It began with unexplained fatigue. Friends noticed Richard seemed tired, his voice a little strained, his steps slower. At first, it was easy to blame nerves, rehearsals, or the overwhelming schedule that comes with sudden fame. But when the exhaustion worsened, and Richard began experiencing difficulty breathing and frequent dizziness, he knew something was wrong. Doctors ordered tests. What they discovered left Richard, his family, and those closest to him in shock. Richard was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive neurological condition, one that threatened not only his ability to perform, but his health and future entirely. Though details of the illness have been kept private out of respect for Richard and his family, insiders confirm the diagnosis is life-altering, and the prognosis is uncertain at best. The news hit Simon Cowell harder than anyone expected. Known for his sharp wit and business-focused mindset, Simon has always been a fixture of the entertainment world, resilient, determined, and seemingly unshakable. But behind the scenes, Richard's diagnosis revealed a different side of Simon, one marked by vulnerability, compassion, and deep personal conflict. Sources close to the judge say Simon was devastated. His bond with Richard wasn't just professional, it was personal. Richard had reminded him of the raw power of human spirit, the magic of untapped potential, and the beauty of humility. Watching that light dim under the weight of illness stirred something in Simon that no amount of success could ease. His shocking decision to say goodbye to the public eye, it turns out, began here with Richard's tragic diagnosis and the harsh reminder that even in the world of glitz and glamour, life's harshest realities remain impossible to ignore. To the outside world, Simon Cowell has always been a towering figure in the entertainment industry, sharp, driven, and fiercely ambitious. But behind the cameras and flashing lights, few people truly understood the immense emotional burden he carried in the wake of Richard Goodall's devastating diagnosis. While Simon kept up appearances on television, attending auditions, offering critiques, and smiling for the cameras, those closest to him noticed a change. He wasn't the same. His once unshakable confidence had been replaced with quiet introspection, his usual bravado giving way to moments of deep reflection and visible sadness. According to production insiders, Simon began pulling back from the day-to-day operations of his various shows. Meetings were rescheduled, responsibilities quietly delegated, and appearances reduced to only the most essential. It wasn't burnout or professional fatigue, plain and simple. Richard's battle with illness had shaken him to his core. For years, Simon had built his reputation on discovering raw talent and helping others achieve their dreams. But seeing Richard, a man with so much potential and so much heart, face such a cruel twist of fate made the pursuit of fame feel trivial by comparison. The harsh truth hit Simon harder than any tabloid headline or industry setback ever could. Life is fragile, and success means little when the people you care about are suffering. Friends describe Simon during this period as haunted by what was happening to Richard. Despite his wealth, influence, and connections, there was nothing he could do to change the diagnosis. He visited Richard whenever possible, offering quiet support, keeping in touch with his family, and providing whatever assistance he could behind the scenes. But no amount of financial help or public gestures could fix what was happening. For the first time in his career, Simon faced a situation where his usual tools, contracts, negotiations, and business deals were powerless. And in that helplessness, something shifted. Simon began contemplating the unthinkable, stepping away from the spotlight entirely. His priorities, once dominated by ratings and record deals, were beginning to realign in a way that shocked both his inner circle and millions of loyal fans worldwide. For months, rumors swirled behind the scenes of the entertainment industry. Whispers suggested that Simon Cowell was considering the unthinkable, walking away from the empire he had spent decades building. At first, most dismissed the talk as pure gossip. After all, Simon had weathered countless storms in his career: public backlash, health scares, even near-fatal accidents. But those close to him knew this time was different. Richard Goodall's tragic diagnosis had opened Simon's eyes to the harshest realities of life. And for the first time, the man once defined by relentless ambition was seriously questioning his place in the spotlight. The final decision, according to insiders, wasn't made lightly. Simon spent weeks in private, away from production sets and media appearances, reflecting on his next move. His schedule cleared, his social media presence dimmed. Even those within his own production companies were left in the dark about what was happening. Friends say Simon's focus shifted entirely to his family, his health, and his growing desire to be present for the people in his life who mattered most, especially Richard. It wasn't that Simon had lost his passion for discovering new talent, but rather that fame, fortune, and television success no longer carried the same weight when compared to the realities of illness, mortality, and human connection. When the announcement finally came, it sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. At a private press event, Simon stood before reporters and cameras, his usual confidence replaced with a somber sincerity rarely seen. "There comes a moment," he said, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "when you realize that life isn't measured by your next show or your next contract. It's measured by the people you love and the time you have with them." With that, Simon confirmed what many feared. He would be stepping back from television, at least for the foreseeable future. It wasn't a full retirement, but it was the clearest sign yet that Richard Goodall's diagnosis had changed Simon, not just as a producer or television personality, but as a man. The entertainment world could hardly believe it. Simon Cowell saying goodbye? It sounded impossible, but this time, it was all too real. The moment Simon Cowell's announcement hit the news, the internet exploded. Social media platforms flooded with reactions, some filled with disbelief, others with heartfelt support. For millions of fans worldwide, Simon has been more than just a television personality. He's been a constant in their lives, discovering talents like One Direction, Susan Boyle, and countless others. His sharp critiques, trademark wit, and ability to spot raw potential shaped modern entertainment in ways few could deny. So hearing that he was stepping away, possibly for good, left many feeling like the end of an era had arrived. Hashtags like "Whites, thank you Simon," and "Want you, good luck Simon" trended within hours. Tributes poured in from celebrities, former contestants, and longtime viewers. Many recalled how Simon's shows had changed their lives, from launching careers to providing family-friendly entertainment that brought people together. But beyond the fame and television success, the public's response revealed something deeper. Fans weren't just mourning the potential loss of a media giant. They were empathizing with a man facing a very human struggle. As news of Richard Goodall's tragic diagnosis became intertwined with Simon's departure, the story shifted from one of career choices to one of compassion, friendship, and the harsh realities of life. It wasn't just fans expressing their emotions. Fellow judges, hosts, and industry insiders spoke out as well. Longtime colleague Howie Mandel described Simon's decision as brave and heartbreaking, while Britain's Got Talent co-star Amanda Holden called it a reminder that even the strongest among us face moments that change everything. Meanwhile, Richard Goodall's name began trending once again, not because of a new performance, but because of the incredible bond he had formed with one of the world's most influential entertainment figures. The public outpouring of love for Richard was overwhelming, with fans sending messages of support, prayers, and well wishes. In the face of Richard's health battle and Simon's farewell, the entertainment world found itself united, not by the pursuit of fame, but by a shared reminder of what truly matters: love, health, and the people who lift us up when life turns dark. While Simon Cowell's decision to step back from the spotlight made headlines around the world, the man at the heart of this emotional story, Richard Goodall, was quietly fighting the battle of his life. True to his humble nature, Richard never sought fame or attention for his struggle. Even after becoming a global sensation thanks to his incredible voice and heartfelt performances on America's Got Talent, Richard remained grounded, focusing not on the limelight, but on his family, his community, and his health. But behind the scenes, his diagnosis was presenting challenges no singing competition could ever prepare him for. Those close to Richard describe his battle as a roller coaster of emotions. Moments of hope, days of despair, and constant uncertainty. The rare neurological condition affecting him has, according to insiders, impacted his mobility, energy, and even his ability to perform, the very gift that brought him into the spotlight in the first place. But despite the physical toll, Richard has shown remarkable resilience. Friends say he continues to sing, even if only in private, and remains determined to fight with everything he has. His positive attitude, humility, and quiet strength have not only inspired those around him, but also deeply affected Simon Cowell, reinforcing the painful reality behind Simon's emotional decision to step away from his career. Perhaps what's most remarkable about Richard's battle isn't just his courage, but the way he's faced it, without bitterness, without self-pity, and always with gratitude for the opportunities he's been given. He has remained a symbol of hope to many, reminding people that even in the darkest moments, there is still room for music, love, and quiet perseverance. Fans have organized fundraisers, sent messages of support, and flooded social media with words of encouragement, proving that Richard's story, much like his voice, has resonated far beyond the walls of a television studio. And as his health journey continues, it's clear that the bond between him and Simon Cowell has grown into something far deeper than talent shows or fame. It's a bond forged in respect, compassion, and the shared understanding that life's most important battles are often fought far away from the cameras. In the weeks leading up to his official announcement, Simon Cowell made a quiet, unpublicized trip that confirmed to those closest to him that his decision to step back was final. It wasn't a red carpet event or a flashy television appearance. It was a simple, private visit to Terre Haute, Indiana, the hometown of Richard Goodall. Away from the cameras, away from the media circus, Simon arrived unannounced, determined to spend time with the man who had not only won his respect, but had unknowingly changed the course of his life and career. According to insiders, the meeting was emotional from the start. Richard, though battling his illness, greeted Simon with the same humility and warmth that first won over millions on America's Got Talent. But this time, there was no stage, No audience, no golden buzzer, just two men, bonded by music, friendship, and the sobering reality of life's fragility. Those present say Simon was visibly emotional as he spoke with Richard, offering his unwavering support and expressing how deeply Richard's courage had affected him. It wasn't the Simon Cowell the public was used to, brash, confident, untouchable, but a more vulnerable version of the man, stripped of ego, face to face with the harshness of fate. Sources close to the Cowell family reveal that this visit was the turning point. Simon left Indiana with a heavy heart and a mind made up. The glitz and glamour of television no longer felt like the priority it once was. Instead, Simon realized the value of time spent with family, with those who inspire us, and time to reflect on what really matters. That private meeting wasn't just a show of support for Richard, it was the final nudge Simon needed to walk away from the relentless demands of the entertainment industry. And while many questioned whether Simon's goodbye would be temporary or permanent, one thing was now certain. Richard Goodall's story and his remarkable resilience had left a mark on Simon Cowell that no chart-topping act or television deal ever could. Simon Cowell has never been known for empty gestures. Over the years, his reputation as a tough but fair judge, a savvy businessman, and a kingmaker in the entertainment world has been built on results, not sentiment. So when he announced his plans to step back from television following Richard Goodall's heartbreaking diagnosis, many assumed it would be a quiet hiatus or a temporary break. But Simon's farewell wasn't just talk. It came with real, tangible changes that made it clear this time was different. And for perhaps the first time in his career, Simon Cowell was choosing people over profit, friendship over fame. Industry insiders report that Simon has already begun winding down his direct involvement with several high-profile projects. Auditions for upcoming seasons of Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent have continued, but Simon's presence has been noticeably absent. Behind the scenes, he's also scaled back his role in his production company, Psycho Entertainment, delegating day-to-day decisions to trusted colleagues. Longtime collaborators were stunned, admitting privately that they never thought they'd see the day when Simon voluntarily walked away from the empire he built. But those who truly know him understood. Richard Goodall's illness had shifted Simon's entire perspective on life, success, and what legacy truly means. Despite stepping back, Simon hasn't disappeared entirely. Friends say he remains active in supporting Richard behind the scenes, both emotionally and financially, and continues to quietly champion causes close to his heart, especially those related to health research and supporting ordinary people chasing extraordinary dreams. It's not a complete goodbye, but it's the clearest sign yet that Simon Cowell's days of constant camera appearances, press junkets, and high-stakes talent shows may be drawing to a close. In his farewell message, Simon summed it up best. Fame fades. Success comes and goes. But the people who remind you of what really matters, they stay with you forever. And with those words, Simon Cowell left behind more than just a showbiz empire. He left behind a legacy built not only on music and television, but on compassion, humility, and the quiet strength it takes to walk away when the spotlight no longer feels like home. As the entertainment world slowly adjusts to the news of Simon Cowell's farewell, it becomes clear that this moment marks far more than the end of a television career. It signals a quiet but profound shift, not just for Simon himself, but for the millions who have followed his journey over the past 3 decades. For years, Simon embodied the relentless, unforgiving pace of modern fame. His sharp critiques, bold decisions, and undeniable eye for raw talent made him a cultural icon. He built empires, discovered global superstars, and reshaped the music industry with little more than his instincts and an unwavering belief in his own vision. But beneath the sharp suits and the tough exterior. Few saw the man capable of walking away. Until now. Until life, in its most unpredictable and painful way, reminded him that even the brightest spotlight can't outshine the value of time, love, and human connection. Richard Goodall's story didn't just inspire millions, it shook the very foundation of Simon Cowell's world. Here was a man who, with nothing but a humble heart and an extraordinary voice, reminded us all what success truly looks like. Not measured by platinum records or primetime viewership, but by resilience, grace, and the ability to face life's cruelest twists with quiet dignity. Richard, now bravely fighting a devastating diagnosis, has become a symbol not only of hope, but of perspective. His journey peeled away the layers of fame and forced those around him, even industry giants like Simon, to see what really matters. Their bond, unexpected yet unshakable, was never about the next big deal or show-stopping performance. It was about humanity, about two men from entirely different worlds, connected by music, but bound by something deeper, compassion, and the unspoken understanding that life's greatest stages are the ones we stand on when no one is watching. And so, as Simon Cowell steps away from the glare of the cameras, the contracts, and the endless deadlines, the legacy he leaves behind looks nothing like what the tabloids once predicted. It isn't defined by TV ratings or record deals, though there's no denying the magnitude of his influence. Instead, his true legacy is now etched in something far more enduring, in Richard's unwavering courage, in the countless lives Simon lifted with opportunity, in the decision to walk away, not in defeat, but in defiance of a world that rarely allows its icons to pause, to breathe, to choose family and friendship over fame. His story reminds us that even at the peak of success, we are all human, flawed, and at our best when we lift each other up, even as the final curtain falls.